So, in stages of people's careers, we understand there's a lot of what if scenarios, a lot of if they haven't, if they have, if they coulda, they shoulda, a lot of that spokes into people that already had overshadowing careers, but they could have accomplished a lot more, or could be beyond the upper echelon of what they were. And when you think of that, you think of a lot of athletes out there. Think of Carmelo Anthony with his time with the New York Knicks to the Denver Nuggets in his prime. You could think about that with Aaron Rodgers with his only one Super Bowl, like 3-time league MVP, passing leader, touchdown. But when it comes to the silverware, he could have accomplished a lot more with the talent he had available. Neymar is probably one of the biggest ones that are the biggest shoulda, woulda, coulda stories you'll ever see in the past decade. Or the decade and a half, knowing how much he's played. And knowing what happens with certain athletes like this, they come over to the stigma that you don't consider them good, all because of the merit of what they accomplished over their peers. And knowing Neymar, he has a Champions League. He's won Copa Libertadores, that's like the Champions League of South America. Recopa winner, Brazilian Cup winner, won the treble in his young years back when he was in Barcelona. That includes the Champions League, the Spanish Cup that he's won 3 separate times, and has won La Liga on several occasions. Coupe de France 3 times, 5 times French winner. But thanks, the French league is the easiest league in Europe. They don't count it. He's also won the French Super Cup. He's also won. Yeah, I think he also won the French Super Cup, and he's won the FIFA Club World Cup back in 2016 with Barcelona. Also an Olympic gold medal back in 2016 with Brazil. Yes, he has won 4 French Super Cups. It gets really hard to try to downplay the amount of succession you could do in your individual career, and it doesn't really per se shows how much that downfalls your career. He's won a Copa before, he's won Puskas before, a lot of stuff that you wish even your favorite players haven't accomplished in their careers. And he's done this over a high level for a grand majority of the year. He's not even being called up for the last call for before World Cup even appears. Since returning back to the Brazilian league where he made his mark back when he was like an 18 to 17-year-old. Where Barcelona picked him up to begin with. And at his time, brother was a monster. He'll get the 15 goals. I think he had a 24 goal contribution with 16 assists in La Liga. It wasn't even a recommendation that much over the top 5. I think even Antoine Griezmann had him beat for Ballon d'Or considerations. And such a high contribution. While guys flared out of the league, you can call Eden Hazard, Antoine Griezmann, Wilfred Zaha, Wayne Rooney flared out. This guy was still probably putting up high caliber performance past 30 plus. You would even say he had that much of a casual fall off until he went over to the Saudi league. He was incredibly creative, flare out the gills. Guy was amazing off the ball, pace never to beat. Link up play high level. He can shoot, pass, create, and show the charisma to always expose the crowd. The guy revived Puma, for God's sakes. Not a lot of guys were wearing Puma boots until Neymar was back on the hill and got a bag over it. Still has one of the biggest transfer fees in league history in the world, out of 222 million euros. And all he doesn't have to come for it is all because he didn't help Kylian Mbappe win a Champions League? That's Kylian Mbappe's problem. Last time I checked, the clip involved Luis Enrique talking to Kylian Mbappe. Not the other way around. I'm sick and tired of it. And this is over an era when it was just Messi and Ronaldo beating him. But that doesn't mean he's not considerably over a top-class level. You could considerably... Who else got snubbed for Ballon d'Or but had that quality? You could say Robert Lewandowski. But there'll be a lot of other guys just saying that Robert Lewandowski deserves more credibility over a high-level standard of Neymar because Bayern Munich was his own team. And they invalidate that standard to the guy that was like the black sheep of MSN. And while he has probably the best goal contribution ratio, even though injuries were a massive part of his career. Totaling around 300 goals overall with 232 assists. Over a career spanning nearly 20 years by now. And has been wearing the number 10 shirt for a long time. Out of the declining era of Brazil's national team, he's been the key piece of almost everything. So it gets really difficult to know how probably one of the greatest left wingers and the influence for a lot of footballers nowadays, like Rafael Leao, you could probably say Desiree Doué. Hell, you could even say an influence for Kylian Mbappe. A bunch of your favorite... and Michael Olise is one of them too, possibly. Jeremy Doku. A bunch of guys that you swear football just has a lack of personality, has a lack of flair, a lack of emotion. You guys just don't watch the games. Respectfully. Some of y'all just want something to complain about. It's the same thing with basketball fans out there. You guys want to see fight and grit. There is on the floor. You want to see guys push post moves, go hit back on the basket. They are. You just consider them boring. You want to say everybody just randomly shoot threes, but when a guy's coming off the screen and he's ready to shoot out the corner, you want him to shoot, right? So I just don't get the hypocrisy that goes over to guys like Neymar not getting their just due. And you have legends like Wayne Rooney. I like Wayne Rooney. I have a lot of respect for Wayne Rooney for what he's contributed over to football, what he's done for Manchester United. I like Neymar, but I've never seen him as a top player. Not like Messi or Ronaldo. He was good at Barcelona, but he was always in Messi's shadow. That's always been something to try to deny Neymar's career out of his contributions. That's eluded even him at his position. It just gets to a point where we just denounce anybody all because they're not superior to their peers. Dwayne Wade's not better than LeBron James. You still consider him a Hall of Famer, don't you? Dwight Howard's peak wasn't as good as LeBron James' peak, but you consider him a Hall of Famer. Neymar has carried probably the worst Brazilian teams you guys have ever seen in the last 20 plus years to World Cups. PSG to a World Cup final at 30 as a left winger. And can play as a 10 striker, second striker, and a cam. And he can play the right if necessary. And still do it at a high octane level. Has been at least one of the best creators and innovators over on the left wing position. And entertainers. While being a key reason to watch Liga 1 after Zlatan Ibrahimovic left. We get over to a point when it's just Neymar's not done anything to at least put himself into the level of even Wayne Rooney. Dude, you were overweight flat playing the 10 when Jose Mourinho came over and took over. And Louis van Gaal. Dude, you're younger than Ronaldo and you're overweight. Impossible. It gets really to a point. He's taking the piss. It really gets to a level that we shouldn't even be trying to denounce them, and at least try to appreciate the players that we have left. That's around the era when everybody was younger. And Neymar is that influence that a lot of players can still strive to and win at that level. And saying that he does a bunch of useless dribbles when you guys watch Yermi Doku, Kavicha Kvaratskhelia, Anthony, and you guys probably think that they're better than Neymar. That's crazy to me. There's no shot. Trying to denounce Neymar as like one of the all-time greats over the past 15 years, 18 years now of football, it is just absolutely disrespectful for what he's contributed. All because he hasn't won it. All because of his national career. Even though he's won the Confederations Cup, he has more success internationally than Wayne Rooney, if we're being honest. After barely missing the 2002 World Cup after a free kick, y'all got saved off that. Then the invisible goal off Frank Lampard. Then you guys get absolutely decimated by France. While, sure, it's been upset after disappointment for Brazil, but at least internationally, it still shows that their team can be favored whenever Neymar's on the pitch. When can they say that about you guys with an all-star team still can't do anything? It's depressing. So, that's it for me. I'm gonna just try to take some Tylenol or something. How you think Neymar gets too much disrespect in his career, all because he's not playing in Europe anymore? Because we know when these guys retire, or God forbid something else happens to them that is out of their control. All the love in the world, but when they're active, they still get the critiques in this day. So if Brazil even calls up Neymar again, before call-ups, because even Cristiano Ronaldo is not getting called up for the recent international duty for the Portuguese national team. They held that over for a little bit of a tribute for Diogo Jota, but I'm sure he'll be ready for the World Cup, because I don't see a part where Ronaldo doesn't want to play for his national team for possibly the final time to see what else he can do. And just undermine that. Because I see the same stigmatism for Melo when he was in the NBA, and he's a multi-time gold medalist, NBA scoring leader, been one of the most influential game stretch wings that can play a 3-level score. And his level of basketball has been hindered over play styles, front office decisions, and decline to adapt in the modern era. And some of that is his fault, but there's a lot of NBA players nowadays that's still not even at the level Carmelo Anthony has been as a basketball player. Tell me how you guys feel down below.